Hello YouTube, today I'm going to give you a briefing on how knifing works in Battlefield 4, the various mechanics involved, and advanced information for knifing effectively. First, let's clarify a myth. There is no way to counter a counter-knife. Remember, Battlefield 4 is not a bug-free game. Sometimes you will appear to be knifed from in front but not have the counter-knife option, which has led to the creation of a myth that counter-knifing is counterable. It is not. What can happen, though, is the game gives you the frontal knifing animation, even though the game thinks you've been knifed from the side. So the frontal knife animation was triggered anyway, perhaps by lag or turning while being knifed, etc. And I've collected footage of what it looks like to knife someone from the side while they were turning, and the animation switches between side knifing and front knifing while being uncounterable. So again, there is no way to counter a counter knife. However, it is possible to simply not get the counter knife option due to the game thinking you're being knifed from the side, even if it's wrong. Battlefield 4 is not bug-free. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk some more about how counter-knifing actually works. If you are either standing or crouched and someone knifes you from in front of you, you'll have the option of counter-knifing. The duration of the counter-knife window for both of these is enormous. The time period between when the person attacking you initiates melee combat and is brought into the miniature cutscene and the point where they get the kill is about 3 seconds in total length. Unless you're liking or looking away from the screen or something similar, it's virtually impossible to not secure a counter-knife kill. However, you cannot counter-knife while prone. In fact, you can't initiate a knife kill at all while prone. If you're prone and attempting to knife another prone person, all you'll do is slash with a knife, probably for 0 damage, so you cannot knife or counter-knife while in prone position. And on the note of things you can't do with a knife, you can't knife kill people on ladders or on static defense turrets. You can, however, knife people while in water, and I should remind you that swimming underwater slows your speed slightly, so if you're trying to catch up to someone and knife them in the water, if they dive, you'll start gaining on them. That said, it should also be noted that servers can tamper with the knife kill mechanics and reduce the window someone has to counter-knife or remove it altogether. Most of the time this isn't what happens, though. Usually if you're not given the counter-knifing option, it's not because the server tampered with the knife mechanics, it's because the game couldn't figure out where you were being knifed from. A knife kill is initiated by going up to an enemy and pressing your use key. However, you can also equip the knife as a basic weapon and initiate a knife takedown with your basic firing button. The game's mechanics are not particularly smooth in this regard, and sometimes it'll take a few slashes with a knife to get it to lock onto an enemy and do the knifing animation to kill them. It should also be noted that holding down the knife button and running into melee range will not auto-initiate a knife kill. You have to be within melee range and then press the button, thankfully. Now, as much as I feel running around with a knife equipped should be rewarded more than simply pressing F to initiate a knife kill, using the normal knife as your equipped weapon does not allow you to penetrate a counter knife, nor does it provide much of a benefit. From what I have observed, it seems to speed up your knife kills by a small amount by removing the brief period of time it takes to pull your knife out to initiate a knife kill. This is a small benefit, as the bulk of the time-consuming knifing animation remains the same. However, if you want to go on a knife killing spree, it may add up after a while. Still, you'll have to question the usefulness of running around with a knife out when a slightly less time-consuming knife initiation is compared to the benefit of having your ranged weapons out. I'd prefer to remove one-button knifing altogether and then make knifing with the knife itself equipped more rewarding, but hey, maybe I'm just old school. When you knife kill someone, they become unrevivable. However, when you kill someone in Battlefield 4, that player gets to follow you around as a ghost for several seconds. So a knife kill spree isn't likely to last very long if you're, say, playing on a small team deathmatch map. Since knife kills take so much more time than shooting someone in the head, chances are around the time of your third knife kill in team deathmatch, the first one you knifed has already respawned and is on his way to you to get a revenge kill. You're highly vulnerable while knifing someone, requiring essentially that you not be attacked for a few seconds. In other modes such as Conquest or Rush, you may have more success getting a knife kill spree in regards to the time it takes for people to respawn, but still, if you're knifing a group of, say, 4 people on a roof, if the first one you kill has voice chat, he's likely to shout to a squad that someone's coming up behind them. If this happens, then while you're knifing the second person, the other 2 will be alerted to your presence and probably shoot you while you're in the knifing process. As such, unless you're trying to farm knife kills for an achievement, or attempting to collect footage for a knife montage video, or simply seeking the gratification of a knife squad wipe, I strongly recommend that if you do come up behind an enemy squad and have the element of surprise, that after the first knife kill you use a normal weapon to kill all but one of the remaining enemy squad members, and knife that final person if the opportunity is convenient and he's oblivious to his team being slaughtered. This should give you a much higher success rate for wiping out squads, but if the temptation for a knife squad wipe is too much, I understand, but be forewarned of the extra risks. It should also be noted that if an enemy respawns on a squad mate right as you initiate the knife kill, they'll sometimes lose the black spawn-in screen faster than you'll finish your kill, so you may need to weigh the risk of knifing that final squad member when someone is respawning on them. However, this risk can be calculated fairly easily after a little practice, so you get a feel for how long it takes for the first guy you killed to respawn, how long it takes for you to wipe out his buddies, and generally get a feel for how much time you have to spare. On the subject of knifing full squads of people, it should be noted that your knife kill can be interrupted. While knifing someone, one of his squad mates can shoot you and save his teammate if he's fast enough. It's also possible possible to initiate a knife kill on someone who's already initiated a knife kill and pull them off of your teammate, thus saving your teammate's life. If you are close enough to initiate a knife kill, it will often be better to knife the enemy that is knifing your teammate in order to save your teammate than it would be to shoot them. Remember, while knifing in total will take longer to kill than bullets, initiating the knife stuns the player and will usually stop their knife kill faster than bullets would. So remember, if you're close enough, it's better to knife to save your team than to shoot to save your team. Now that said, I must advise caution. It's better to sacrifice your teammate and avenge his death than to feed the guy knifing him a double knife kill. If you pull an enemy out of a knife kill, they can still counter-knife you if you do it from in front of them. I've had people pull me out of a knife kill into a counter-knife, thus failing to save their teammate and also killing themselves. And on that note, it is possible to obtain a knife double kill. If you're knifing an enemy right as one of their teammates is running through them, it is possible that both enemy players will die at the same time, as if you had knife killed both, though this may be a bug and patched at a later date. As for which direction to knife people from, obviously from behind is better to lower the risk of them turning suddenly and forcing you into a position where you're being counter-knifed. People are much more likely to turn to the left or the right than they are to turn completely around, but sometimes you simply won't get much choice in that regard and will need to knife quickly to save your life for those sticky situations when you're out of bullets. In those situations, it's often beneficial to sprint to the side of someone and then initiate a knife kill on them, and usually they won't turn fast enough to bring up a counter-knife option. It's also beneficial to jump during this, as it'll make you a little bit more difficult to hit. And this can sometimes get you out of a nasty situation where you don't have the bullets, and the last guy in the squad you just wiped out is staring at you with a fully loaded weapon. Now let's talk about stealth a little bit. If you are someone who wants to farm up knife kills specifically, be it for achievements or a montage video or whatever reason, it's best to play the Recon class. This is because the Recon class has access to the best tools for stealth activity and by proxy for knifing. The Recon class has access to 3 things that are important. Number 1 is the Spec Ops Recon field upgrade path. Number 2 is motion sensor balls. Number 3 is the radio spawn beacon. The Spec Ops field upgrade path grants you stealth at level 1, making you invisible to motion sensor balls or tugs unless you're sprinting. The motion sensor balls are, for the purpose of collecting knife kills, generally more useful than a tugs. Other tugs and motion sensor balls will reveal the location of a tugs or a spawn beacon on the minimap, meaning that if someone tosses a motion sensor ball in your direction, it will ping the location of your tugs and attract people to destroy it. While you could potentially use this as bait, it's more likely to attract 4 or 5 people than 1 or 2, making it difficult to secure a lot of knife kills if you plan on eliminating all of them and surviving to continue your kill streak. Motion sensor balls, on the other hand, are invisible to enemy motion sensors and will not attract the attention a tugs would. As such, motion sensor balls can be used to stealthily watch enemy movement in a much wider radius than a tugs could be used for. While a tugs can be relocated and motion sensor balls have a timer before they expire, they generally live long enough and you get enough of them that motion sensor balls will often outclass the use of a tugs if you're moving around inside an enemy-controlled area. It's just too inconvenient to go back for your tugs to pick it up again and move it to a new area when you're moving on to greener pastures when you could instead just toss another motion ball and collect a few kills. Most of the time, the 3 motion balls will be of much greater use than the tugs, unless your plan is to collect knife kills in and around one building and not move around the map very much. Again, I remind you that people follow you around as a ghost after you kill them, and camping out in a building to prey upon those who stumble into your lair can sometimes result in more attention than you want for the time-consuming process of knifing. I find it generally more profitable to move around the opposing team's territory for more consistent kill streaks. However, this is simply a case of which situation tends to be more practical, and there will be occasions where a tugs could be more useful instead. The third item of importance is a spawn beacon. It's very time-consuming to sneak into the other team's territory, and can be a significant waste of time if you're noticed by someone and killed prior to collecting your kill streak. You could potentially spawn on teammates, but dragging around a squad of people generally isn't very stealthy, especially if you're playing with a public squad of random people who don't think to keep your spawn beacon's location secret. Generally, if you're going to plant a spawn beacon in the other team's territory, its best defense to stay active is that no one knows it's there, or thinks to throw a motion sensor in its direction. You can preserve its secrecy by leaving the area before starting your knifing spree, but if, for example, a bunch of snipers or people with unsuppressed weapons decide to spawn in your beacon and immediately start sniping from the rooftop it's on, or fire on enemies moments after spawning, its location will be compromised. So if no one you know is online, it will usually be better to be in your own private squad. Spawning in territory behind enemy lines will offer you a consistent surprise advantage, and usually the ability to come up behind people, which is very beneficial to collecting knife kills. Dragging around a squad of snipers and players with unsuppressed weapons is not beneficial to that goal, regardless of which game mode you're playing. And on the subject of suppressed weapons, if your firearm does not have a suppressor, you're not doing it right. If your goal is to wipe out large squads of people and pick up knife kills in the process, sometimes it'll be better to shoot a few people so you can get into a good position to collect your knife kills. It's usually better to get a kill than to let someone kill you. Again, in light of people following you around as a ghost, determining whether you should shoot, when you should stab, and when you should avoid killing someone and let them go on their way so you can sneak by is something you'll get better at with a little practice. But if your weapon doesn't have a suppressor, the bright orange arrow on the minimap of every enemy within a 100-meter radius will draw attention very quickly. The second best classes for knifing would probably be assault and support, due to the ability to obtain additional smoke grenades and the like. Smoke grenades can often help with sneaking into enemy territory, and more is better. Though which grenades you choose will be more up to personal preference, and you can see a grenade review for more more information on those. Now that we've talked about the proper gear for knifing, I should mention, if for example you don't have a lot of experience in the recon tree, or don't have any suppressors unlocked for the weapons you want to use, I recommend playing Team Deathmatch. It tends to be a good experience in weapon unlock farming game mode. I also remind you to use boosts so that you can get the unlocks you need faster. If you don't know how to use boosts or are unfamiliar with Team Deathmatch, I have several relevant tutorials linked in the description box below this video. Thanks for watching my knifing guide, and happy hunting! I'll see you next time.